Hello students, I hope you are now familiar with the subject matter of sociology and the basic concepts of sociology which we have dealt in the last class. In the last class I said that sociology studies society and social behavior. We also studied that sociology studies social behavior in a scientific manner and therefore, sociology could be called as a science. At this point, there is a need to answer few questions. Why do we call sociology a science and how could we call it a scientific study? There are number of approaches and methods that are adopted by sociologists to study sociological phenomenon scientifically. The subject matter of sociology is society, which is very complex and enormous, and therefore, we cannot have a single method or a single approach to study it scientifically. Different sociologists have developed different methods and different approaches. In the last class, we have been discussing the methods and approaches adopted in sociology. The methods we have seen are historical method, comparative method, functionalism, formal sociology, structuralism, inverse deductive method, the experimental method, the observation method, the social survey method, the case study method. The content of today's class are structure of society and levels of analysis and also sociological models and finally, the limitations of scientific methods. Now, we will learn about different levels of analysis in sociology. There are three levels of analysis to explain social behavior. They are micro level analysis, meso level analysis and macro level analysis. Micro level analysis. This method focuses on individual and small group interactions like face-to-face interactions in specific situations, and this is known as micro level analysis. This kind of face-to-face interactions form the basic foundation of all social organization from family to big corporations. For instance, the well-defined relationship between husband and wife, parents and children, and between close relatives is a micro level relationship, but this fulfills the basic function of family. The relationship between husband and wife is an important unit in the status of women in micro level analysis. The second level of analysis is called meso level analysis. Analysis of intermediate sized social units is called meso level analysis. It analyzes units bigger than family, but smaller than nation. For example, national level institutions like welfare boards or ethnic groups. Many changes have been brought in national level institutions by making a good analysis of meso level analysis. For example, studies on tribal communities, the problems of the tribal people and the programs that are being implemented to the welfare of the tribals. These are examples of meso-level analysis. A good study or a good analysis on tribal communities and their issues will definitely bring a big change in the national level community. The third level is macro level analysis. Larger social units in the social world are studied under macro level analysis. It involves looking at the entire nation, global issues or international trends like globalization. It could also be war or natural disaster. The events like war in certain parts of the world have a pervasive effect on all the parts of the globe, affecting the economy of another nation or making family members homeless or jobless. Next, we are going to learn about sociological models. Models are the ways through which sociologists present a simplified picture of a society. The models are as follows: unitary models, structural functionalism, evolutionary model, conflict model and symbolic interactionism. The first one is unitary model. Under unitary model, we have two types of models. One is organismic model and the second one is mechanical model. Organismic model explains how different parts in society function by making a comparison with the organismic parts. For example, Herbert Spencer views society in this way. As I have explained it earlier, Herbert Spencer makes a comparison between human organism and society. He says that different parts in the human body function in order to make the whole unit function properly. And similarly, the different units are the different subsystems of society function with different objectives, but the final aim is to make the society function properly. This is called organismic model. The second one is mechanical model. Mechanical model is explained by Durkheim when he studies social solidarity. Durkheim makes a study by distinguishing mechanical and organic solidarity in simple and industrial societies. The second model is called structural functionalism. Structural functionalism is a useful tool of analysis of society. Social structure refers to the total pattern of organization of a society, including customs and laws. The purpose they serve is called the function. These two aspects, that is the structure of the society as well as the function, cannot be separated and studied. The third model is evolutionary model. Evolutionary model explains human society in a series of stages. Man was living in society and society was developing from savagery to civilization. It was earlier a nomadic life, passing into hunting, then pastoral life and then industrial society. So, man was progressing from savagery to civilization, from pastoral to industrial society. This is what we mean by evolutionary model, which includes several stages of human life. The fourth model is conflict model. Conflict model views society not as a harmonious structure, but as a revolutionary one. Karl Marx stressed internal conflicts and disagreements inside the society. There is always a conflict going on between the economic classes. This is the content of Karl Marx theory, which emphasizes the conflicts that take place in the society and which lead to social change. The fifth and the last model is symbolic interactionalism. Symbolic interactionalism is the process by which people interact through symbols. Symbols stands for or they represent something else. For example, national flag. When a person looks at the national flag, it gives some meaning to him. Another example is the traffic signs, red and green. Just the lights give some meaning to the people. Through these symbols, people interact with each other. Even the gestures we find on the faces of the people gives us some meaning, and therefore, symbols are very important in the course of human interaction. So far, we have been talking about the methods, approaches and also models in sociology. Now, it is time for us to consider the limitations of these models and methods while a sociologist applies them in actual situations. Sociological studies encounter difficulties while applying methods in research. The first limitation is the complexity of data. Social research is about man and his social behavior, hence interpreting and generalizing is difficult. Secondly, unpredictability. Man's behavior cannot be predicted even if generalizations are made based on data. Since human behavior is subject to high variations, prediction at a high degree is difficult. The third one is the problem of objectivity. In social research, the investigator himself is a human being living in a social setup. Hence, bias and subjective influences are possible. Fourthly, intangibility of phenomena. Social phenomena happen and get complete over a period of time. They are changing processes, hence cannot be produced for evidences. Next limitation is difficulties in experimental methods. Human beings cannot be subjected to laboratory setup as materials in physical sciences. As man has emotions and moods, high variations in the results do happen in social research. Lastly, the cause effect interpretations. It is very difficult to determine the cause and effect in social events. They are interchangeable. Dear students, so far we have been discussing the methods and approaches adopted in sociology. We have seen the structure of society and levels of analysis, and next to that we analyzed sociological models, and finally we discussed the limitations of scientific methods. Now, I will pose some questions to you. What are the levels of analysis? Which level is important in sociology? Micro level, meso level and macro level analysis are the three levels of analysis in sociological studies. Each level is important and unique in its own way. Depending on the problem under investigation, the level is identified and relevant methods are adopted. For instance, local issues pertaining to caste clashes cannot be studied as a macro level study. They are micro level. Similarly, globalization issues can be studied at macro level only. Sociological models. Models are the ways through which sociologists present a simplified picture of a society. The models are as follows: unitary models, structural functionalism, evolutionary model, conflict model and symbolic interactionism. Explain limitations of scientific methods. Sociological studies encounter difficulties while applying methods in research. The first limitation is the complexity of data. Second, the unpredictability. The third one is the problem of objectivity. Fourthly, intangibility of phenomena. Next limitation is difficulties in experimental methods. Lastly, the cause effect interpretations. Dear students, now I am sure that you understand the methods and approaches employed in sociological studies, and also you are convinced that sociology could be called as a science. In the next class, we will learn about heredity and environment and how they influence human behavior. See you next time.